Hey, this is Jamey with Stonemeyer Games, and tonight I'm going to talk about my favorite mechanism in a game called Trogdor. This is a cooperative game that does something a little bit different that I haven't, well, a couple different things that I haven't seen in other cooperative games. One is that you are playing the bad guy. You are cooperatively working together as the bad guy to lay waste to this land, which I kind of had a lot of fun doing. Like I normally in cooperative games I like playing the good guys. I like fighting against evil, but it was actually a really nice twist. It felt unique to play the bad guy in this game. One of my favorite components in the game is related to that because you are sweeping across the land trying to burn it. That's the goal in the game for you. And that is these little, in the Kickstarter version at least, you have these little house miniatures, and they're two-part miniatures. This is a normal house, but at certain points in the game, you're trying to, by the end of the game, you're trying to burn all the houses as well as all the land on the board. And you can actually, it's a two-part miniature, and the top of it, the thatched roof part, can flip over, as you can kind of see in this photo, to become a house that's on fire. So I like that they used two components instead of adding like a third component to show that it's on fire. They used this one component to flip over in a really cool way to show that the house is then on fire. So there are two main mechanisms in the game that I think are really, really clever. One is every player cooperatively controls exactly one miniature. Everyone. There's this one miniature, the Trogdor miniature, that every player is controlling. You are walking around the board trying to burn these tiles, flip them over, while avoiding these knights and also sometimes eating these peasants. And you're all doing this with one miniature. And so this added just a really interesting cooperative feel to the game. Because on my turn, the thing that I'm doing that might be related to my asymmetric abilities and that I need to do that turn to stay alive is directly going to impact what you can do because I have moved the miniature that you also need to move in the game. The Trogdor miniature. In the retail version, I think it's a wooden token. Which is just, when I heard about that, I was like, how is this game going to work? How is this going to be fun with everyone just moving one token around? But it's brilliant. It really, really adds to the experience, I think, of just having everyone share that one single component that they're moving around throughout the game. And it made me realize, actually, really about cooperative games. There are a lot of digital games that where you're controlling one character and you're going around the world. And I think sometimes the board game versions of those games just pull in like other characters that maybe you don't even care all that much about, just so every player can have their own character. But Trogdor showed me that isn't necessary. It is possible to have a cooperative game experience, perhaps based on a digital game. Trogdor is not, but you could do this based on a digital game because there are plenty of digital games out there that could be adapted into a tabletop game or could inspire a tabletop game, where all players just share that one main character and they move it around and they all somehow thematically share that character. The last thing that I think is worth mentioning, and Alex from Gray Fox Games really accentuated this point. It's a cooperative game, so there's a win condition. You win by burning everything, and there's a lose condition, but there isn't really a loss. Rather, it's you've been defeated, and when you do, you go out in a fiery rage, which I think is thematic based on this weird little IP. Not little IP. I shouldn't say little. Weird IP. It's not really little. And basically, if you lose the game, if Trogdor's health is reduced to 0, instead of the game just ending, you go on a fiery rage controlled by the game. So there are these cards that you could draw that say, move in this exact position. Normally in the game, you choose where you move, but during this fiery rage period at the end of the game, you draw 5 of those cards and you move Trogdor around the board following those cards to see if he can lay waste to the rest of the board based on those cards. If you do, you have lost, but you've gone out in a fiery rage, and so you still get the satisfaction of kind of winning because you're able to burn everything. Or, as was the case in our game, we lost, and then despite our fiery rage, we still lost the game. But it was a really, really fun way to lose the game. Because in most cooperative games, you lose, and you're like, shoot. And maybe you discuss what you could have done differently. That part is fun, I think. But the thematic edge to it is just, we lost. We didn't do well enough. But with the fiery rage, it's sheer fun at the end of the game. Sheer silliness, random silliness, really, at the end of the game. And I think it works thematically really well for this IP. So that was another thing that made me think. I mean, this game really surprisingly made me think of a lot of things with game design. Made me think with a cooperative game, instead of just losing, maybe you lose and something really fun happens because you lost. Or after you lose, there's something thematic. It wouldn't be exactly this because this is too tied to this IP and too important here. But something fun could happen after you lose the game. That could really add to how you walk away from losing a cooperative experience. So yeah, hopefully I've triggered some interesting thoughts here for you. I'd love to hear other games that make you think of interesting things that happen when you lose. The idea of all players cooperatively playing a single character. The idea of a cooperative game where you are the bad guy. All these things. If these remind you of any other game, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Or if you play Trogdor and have a different favorite mechanism, I'd love to hear about that in the comments as well. Thanks.